All right. Hello, everyone. So we have a group project coming up soon. So here you see in module 7, but you have until the 17th of October to finish this. Um, so I made a little board here for you guys to kind of talk to each other and sort of formed groups. So I'm really looking at forming groups of maybe like 3 to 4 would probably be optimal. If the best you can do is 2, then we'll do 2. But try really hard to form a group. If it's really a problem, just let me know. Um, so you're going to see the group projects in here. Hopefully I got all the typos out of this time. Um, so you're going to do similar things we did to the mini project, except we're going to use that data that we collected in that survey at the beginning of the semester. So you're going to be asked a lot of little more involved things. So one of the things we did in the mini project is I didn't directly ask you for a frequency histogram. This time I do actually ask you for a histogram. You're going to make a distribution chart again, but this time I'm not going to tell you what the class width is. You are going to decide. And a lot of this, you just have to go through and justify why you did certain things, like why did you pick the certain lower class limit to start with? Why did you pick this particular class width? And it could be as simple as you're just trying to figure out the number of classes you wanted. So I just need you to just give me a little explanation of why you picked what you did. And it can be as simple as, like we ran it this way first. We didn't like the way the histogram was looking. It was very chunky or something like that. So we changed it and now the histogram looks smoother. Like I said, it could be as simple as that. Also, let me see here. We're gonna have a little bit more here because we had the information for chapter 3. So you are gonna go through and find a mean and a median. You're also going to find standard deviations, find a z-score, make a box plot, find a number summary, identify outliers. And then you're gonna get to a part here where you're gonna start analyzing the information that you had. So you had a mean and a median. Are they close? Are they far apart? Do you think one's a better measure of center? So that has to do with what kind of distribution that you have. Um, like I said, so a lot of this is going to be a little more ambiguous than we had saw in the mini project, where you're kind of giving me an explanation of why you think things are a certain way. Um, then you have potential outliers, looking at that. There is a little bit on linear regression here as well. But I'm trying to find it on here. There's this part about making inferences. So this is where I want to kind of describe what's going on with the data. So you're going to use this data, you're going to make an inference about all NLC students. So, the data was collected just from statistics students, and it was just my statistics students. So I did a convenience sampling. Um, the classes I had are your class, which is online, and then I had 2 face-to-face classes. One's a Monday, Wednesday, and one's a Tuesday, Thursday. And one is a normal statistics and one is called a co-rec, which means we have it compared with a math class that prepares you for the statistics course. So we have 3 different kinds of statistics courses altogether, but they are all my statistics courses. So if you think there's bias, one of the things you can look into is, do you think that our sampling causes bias when you're trying to compare this data to all NLC students? So that's partly what you're being asked here to do. Other thing I wanted to note here is that when I put your data together, I had to kind of make some creative decisions because I just needed one number for each category. And sometimes you give me things like I'd ask, like how much you spend on gas a month, and you say $30 to $50. So when you give me ranges like that, I average the ranges. So if you gave me $30 to $50 and I said you spend $40 a month on or week or whatever on gas. If it was something that I couldn't have a decimal answer for, like how many not family members, but like how many credit hours. Nobody's going to have a half credit hour. So if you gave me like your range of credit hours is between 6 and 8, I would have rounded to 7 because that would have been easy. But if you gave me something like it's between 6 and 9, then I would end up with 7.5. So I would just round that up to 8. So a lot of times there's a little rounding involved. Uh, there are some places where data was just missing. And if it was missing, then I just left it blank. So you do not do anything with that. Do not enter in a 0. You leave it blank and you just ignore that as a point in your data set. So some of you are going to have a little more data in the data set you picked. So let me go over and, oops, I get the wrong screen, show you the data set. So look from the Excel one because that's easier. So as you see here, was this one? Oh, I think that wasn't the one I was missing a lot of. Usually it was like how many hours you spent studying, because a lot of you were brand new students, have never been to college before. You didn't have answers for me, which is fine. So this is where it's blank. Like I said, you just don't write anything in there. You just leave it and you just skip it as a data point. You'd say, well, my data points are 10, 20, 14, 14, 6, and then you just skip that and you say the next one's 3. That's all you have to do there. So what you're going to do is initially you're just going to pick one data set. You could pick any data set that you want to, and you're going to run the statistical analysis on it. Someone else may pick the same data set. Hopefully with the discussion board, you kind of talk about what data sets you're looking at so we can get a little variety. But if you do the same as someone else, that is fine. So if you wanted to, you could pick like how many hours per week everybody was working. And that's the data set that you are going to do your project on. And then you're going to get down to the linear regression. So that means you need to pick 2 data sets. What you'll end up doing is you will pick a secondary data set to compare with. So maybe hours a week working, and you go, well, maybe what's a good one to go with that is how much gas you spend per week. See if there's a relation there. So when you try to pick your second data set, just try to pick something that you think might have a connection. It could completely have no connection at all, and you might end up with like a correlation coefficient of almost 0, and that is fine. If it's not perfect, that's okay. Like I said, you're just running raw data, and whatever happens is going to happen. And if you start running with a data set and you hate it, just quit and start over with a new data set. But like I said, just give you a little heads up on what to do, especially with places where data was missing. I had somebody who only filled out half the data set by accident. There was a bunch of data missing there. If it's missing, you just ignore it.